Hey, what's up, Killas? It is your final grandma coming at you from my Killer Podcast, and today we are talking about something uber special. Arrow just came out with a 4K of Silence of the Lambs, so we're going to do a deep dive into this. Oh, yes, we are. But we are also going to be talking about other crime thrillers. It is a hit list of sorts, so stay tuned. What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me today. If you're new here, I'm not only on YouTube, I'm also on a bunch of other social media platforms, so kill the description box below and follow me everywhere. Channel memberships are also turned on, so kill that join button, and I also have a Patreon if you feel like supporting your final girl. As I alluded, without any further ado, we're going to get right on into it. Arrow dropped this beautiful Silence of the Lambs 4K set. We are going to be doing a deep dive into this, and I do love how they decided to do their J cards. It's kind of like a glorified slip cover, and you know your girl is a no slip, no dip kind of gal. This is our back details if you would like to check them out. This release comes with a plethora of special features, as you can see. With the glorified J card off, here is our beautiful release. I did opt for the OG artwork. I just like it, but when you pull out the 4K itself, it did come with the alternate artwork, so I did flip that around. So you kind of get both. Here is our innards. You do get some disc artwork there. You get some beautiful art cards. Here is some of those. They're very, very nice. All of them have this artwork on the back. And you can flip that artwork around, and the OG artwork is on the back of that. So very cool. Very, very cool. And as per Arrow do, you get a poster. So let's see if I can open this without ruining it. So you get your OG artwork here. And then you get this awesome alt artwork there. And then you have your bookie. So that is what you get when you order this beautiful Silence of the Lambs set. And as you know, Silence of the Lambs is classic OG crime thriller. FBI agent Clarice Starling races against time to stop a serial killer nicknamed Buffalo Bill before he kills again. To solve the case, she risks her own sanity by consulting with malevolent psychiatrist Hannibal Lecter, a master manipulator. The sinister Dr. Lecter offers crucial information that may be key to unlock the killer's identity, but at a price. Clarice must open primal events from her past to Lecter's menacing curiosity to confront the trauma that fuels her search for justice. This is one of the all-time best crime thrillers and police procedurals in history. I will just put it out there. It is one of the best. But it also got me thinking, like, what other movies are out there that have done what Silence of the Lambs has done? What other movies did we get that are along the same vein as Silence of the Lambs? I made a list, a hit list of similar movies to this one that you can check out if you are in the mood for some other crime thrillers. So let's talk about them. So some of these movies on this list aren't going to be any surprise to you guys, but some of them may be. Not all of these movies are going to be ones that you have heard of. Some of them will be. The first one I'm going to talk about is going to be Seven. This one is going to be the obvious one that everyone has heard of. Everyone has probably seen. And probably one of the more gut-wrenching ones on the list. To put it lightly. Detective William Somerset is about to retire, and he is taking on his final case to aid a newly transferred Detective Mills, and they discover a number of elaborate and grisly murders. They soon realize they are dealing with a serial killer who is targeting people he thinks represent one of the 7 deadly sins. It's pretty cool. This movie is very unnerving. The kills that are found in this movie are very brutal. The practical effects are amazing. The police procedurals in this movie are outstanding. I highly recommend watching this one if you haven't seen it. I'm sure everyone has, but it also has one of the greatest twists of all time at the end. What's in the bags? This is one of those movies that if somebody has spoiled the end for you, it is a huge bummer. Next up on the list is Memento. This is an interesting movie just because of the way that it's filmed. It's not in chronological order in the ways that we know film to be. It is about a man with a bizarre disorder, the inability to form new memories ever since a fatal night with his wife where she is murdered. Anyone that this man has met or anything that he has done simply vanishes from his mind, and he is in the search for answers, and he seeks vengeance for his wife's murder. He is on a quest to figure out what has happened to his wife. He gets all these tattoos all over his body and kind of a way of trying to remember things from his past. He has these Polaroids. It's a really interesting movie. I definitely recommend checking it out. Guy Pearce is really brilliant in this movie, but I also kind of remember thinking that he was like a rip-off Brad Pitt, but it's definitely a good one to check out. The next one on the list I want to talk about, and I don't have a physical release of this movie, which I'm actually kind of surprised. I thought I had the DVD for it, is Mystic River. It stars Sean Penn and Kevin Bacon. Sean Penn's daughter is murdered and he goes on a rampage trying to figure out what happened to her. The movie is really great. It's really dark. It's kind of depressing. It's a good crime thriller. It's a slow burn, but it's a slow burn in like the best way possible. And I remember just like the movie kind of sat with me for a really long time after I watched it, but it's so good and I highly recommend checking that one out. The next movie I want to talk about is The Little Things. This is actually a newer movie on the list, and this movie didn't really get very good reviews when it came out. It's from 2021 and it stars Denzel Washington and Jared Leto. It was kind of compared to Seven in a way, and I think that threw people off. I think they went into this movie expecting a Seven experience and they didn't quite get that, which is unfortunate because this movie is pretty good if you give it a chance. It's a slow burn. It's a really good crime thriller. It's a good police procedural, but it's not like Seven. You're not getting the extreme gore and that kind of stuff, but you're getting a really good crime thriller and you're getting that murder mystery is what you're getting from this movie. And I really liked it. I enjoyed this one for what it was, and I thought Jared Leto did a really good job being just such a creep. He plays a creep in this movie in the best way possible. It's about Sheriff Joe Deacon, who is sent to Los Angeles for a quick evidence gathering assignment. Instead, he becomes embroiled in the search for a serial killer who is terrorizing the city. Leading the hunt, LA Sheriff's Department Sergeant Jim Baxter, impressed with Deacon's cop instincts, unofficially engages his help. But as they track a suspect, Baxter is unaware that the investigation is dredging up echoes of Deacon's past, uncovering disturbing secrets that could threaten more than just this case. That's the premise of the movie, and it kind of also goes into psychological thriller, crime thriller territory. It's definitely one of those ones that leaves you thinking in the end, and I love that. I love that about this movie. But if you watched this movie and you didn't like it, I recommend giving it a second chance. If you didn't watch this movie because it didn't get very good reviews, I implore you to check it out. It was actually a decent watch, so give it a chance, give it a go. I enjoyed it. The next one I want to talk about is The Bone Collector. I don't think it's any surprise that this one would turn up on the list because this is your standard police procedural crime thriller movie. It also stars Denzel Washington and Angelina Jolie. It is like down to the science of forensics, honestly. It basically is like a step-by-step, play-by-play of how they gather evidence and all of the things. They're tracking a serial killer in this movie. And it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant the way they break it down, the way they track the suspect, the way Angelina Jolie is like a beat cop and Denzel Washington brings her in on this case because he saw something in her that was amazing and he wanted to use her to gather evidence for him because he has a disability and he can't do it himself. It's just really great. It's really well crafted. It's really well put together. And it's right up there with Silence of the Lambs in the way that it is just amazing what they were able to do with this story and the way that it was written. All right, the next movie I want to talk about is called Taking Lives. This is also starring Angelina Jolie and Ethan Hawke. This is a movie that not many people talk about, and it is truly sad because it is a great, great movie. So this movie is basically about Angelina Jolie. She's an FBI agent, and she's following this serial killer who's impersonating his victims after he kills them. And Ethan Hawke plays this art dealer who witnesses one of the murders. So Angelina Jolie's character and Ethan Hawke's character have to work together to try and figure out who the serial killer is. It also has a cameo part from Kiefer Sutherland, which is really cool because, you know, I love him. So I definitely recommend checking this one out. Like I said, it doesn't get a lot of love. I think a lot of people would like it. The next movie I want to talk about, and you guys have heard me talk about this one before, it's In Dreams. This one's a little different because it kind of goes off into like supernatural kind of realm. It's not realistic as the other ones are. It's still a crime thriller. There's still a serial killer involved. They're still trying to figure out who is killing all the people and things, but it stars Annette Bening and Robert Downey Jr., and she's kind of like a clairvoyant in a way, and her daughter is murdered, and she ends up having like a psychic link to the serial killer, and then she's trying to help the cops find him. I love it. It's a beautiful movie. The cinematography alone in this movie makes it worth watching. It is a slow burn, I will tell you that. If you don't mind that, this movie is great. I don't mind slow burns. Robert Downey Jr.'s character in this movie is brilliant. I love him in it. Children get harmed in this movie, so if you have triggers for that, it is a beautiful movie. It is a beautiful movie, but it is gut-wrenching and it is sad. But it is absolutely amazing. And it was also directed by Neil Jordan, who did Interview with the Vampire, so it kind of has that mystical feel to it if you enjoy that. So another movie that won't surprise you that's on this list is Kiss the Girls. I don't have a physical release of this movie. Yes, I know I was surprised by this as well. But this one is also starring Morgan Freeman and Ashley Judd. Carrie Ellis is in this, and Tony Goldwyn is in it. It is a fantastic movie. It's about a man who is kidnapping women and keeping them out in the middle of nowhere. He calls himself Casanova. I'm not entirely sure what he's doing to these women. I think he's keeping them as like trophies. Ashley Judd gets kidnapped, and then you kind of follow her on her journey of trying to save herself. It is an amazing movie. It is really well done. It's really well performed. There's some female violence in this one, so if you have a trigger for that, just a straight up warning. I'm not going to give all the trigger warnings for these movies because these are crime thrillers. People are getting hurt in these movies, but I definitely recommend checking this one out if you haven't seen it. This one is one of the more popular ones though, so I'd be surprised if there was many of you that haven't seen this one. Check it out. Next up, I want to talk about Fallen. This is another one where it kind of goes in the realm of like, I want to say paranormal, I don't know. But out of the realm of true to life, I guess I would say. But this movie is basically about, after witnessing the execution of serial killer Edgar Reese, police detective John Hobbs and his partner Jonesy are soon investigating another murder whose mode of operation is eerily similar to Reese's. In the course of the investigation, Hobbs meets theology professor Greta Milano, who introduces him to the world of the occult and possibly an evil spirit that is behind the killings. So this movie is interesting because it kind of has like shocker feels to it, you know, which I think is why I like it, but it's like a crime thriller, so it has more of a police procedural feel to it. It also stars John Goodman, which I think is absolutely amazing because he does a phenomenal job performing in this movie. At the end, his performance is so creepy and so eerie and amazing. I definitely recommend checking this out if you haven't seen it because it is very good. Then we have Identity. This movie is starring John Cusack, Ray Liotta, Amanda Peet. This movie is kind of hard to talk about. It's basically about a group of people stuck at this hotel because there's like a storm or something that's going on and they're all taking refuge here. There's like a serial killer running around and they're trying to figure out, it's like a whodunit type of situation. But you're also like at the same time seeing another story happening about a serial killer who's on death row waiting execution, and then you're trying to figure out what's going on with that story. There is ultimately a twist in the end of this one. It's kind of like a what's in the box situation. The ending of this movie gets ruined for you. It's like a huge bummer type of deal. But this is a very good movie. It's a crime thriller, but it's not a crime thriller in the ways of like a police procedural, kind of like these other ones are. So it's different in that way. This is a very good movie. I definitely recommend checking it out. It is a psychological thriller. It boggles the mind. Next up, we're going to talk about 8mm. I'm going to talk about this one very briefly. One, because I don't have a physical release of it, and it bugs me when I don't have that. 8mm stars Nicolas Cage, Joaquin Phoenix. It also has Norman Reedus in it for a brief moment. Basically about a private detective who is hired to figure out what's going on with these like snuff films or something of that nature. There's like a girl on these snuff films he's hired to figure out what happened to her or something of that nature. I've seen this movie multiple times, but I don't own it for obvious reasons. It is a very good movie. I'm not saying I wouldn't watch it again. I definitely would. It's just this subject matter is a little triggering for me. Nicolas Cage is fantastic in it. I definitely recommend checking it out if this subject matter doesn't bother you. I don't know that I have that much more to say about it. Next up, we're going to talk about Night Watch. This is a lost soul, a hidden gem, if you will. I've talked about this movie a lot. I recommend this movie a lot. Nobody ever goes out and watches it. It's actually kind of hard to dig this movie up just because when you Google it, a bunch of other Night Watch crap comes up other than this one for some reason. But it's the Ewan McGregor Night Watch. If you're going to Google it, it's Ewan McGregor Night Watch from 1997. This is a crime thriller, horror mystery. It is about a serial killer who is going around killing hookers. Ewan McGregor works in a morgue. It is very morbid. It also stars Patricia Arquette and Josh Brolin and Nick Nolte. It's like a star-studded cast. I don't know why when I recommend this movie, people don't go out and watch it because of the star-studded cast. It's actually a good movie. It is a slightly slower of a burn. The payoff in the end, I feel like, is worth it. There is some gore in the end that is pretty fantastic. There are some suspenseful moments. There are some horrifying moments. There's some comedic moments. There's some really uncomfortable moments. I can't speak high enough about this movie. This one traveled with me through college. This is one of those movies that I've always been watching, and I don't understand why more people haven't seen it and don't watch it. Watch it! Watch it! Night Watch. All right, last but not least, and it is the last movie on the list that I do not have a physical release for, it is the Horsemen. I absolutely love this movie. It stars Dennis Quaid. Detective Aiden is devastated by his wife's recent death. He is put under further strain when he begins investigating a series of sickeningly vicious murders. He is trying to piece together the clues of the most recent killings and then discovers that they are inspired by biblical forces. The four horsemen of the apocalypse. This movie, I would say, is more like Seven in the ways of the staging of the murders, the police procedural part by trying to figure out who the serial killer is based on investigating the deaths themselves through forensic science in a way. You get to see that gore, you get to see that forensic science, you get to see that crime thriller. There is a twist at the end, and the movie is it's dark. It's a dark movie. I definitely recommend checking this one out. I thought it was fantastic. All right, that is it. That is all. That is my list of 13 movies that have Silence of the Lambs feels, the crime, thriller, police, procedural. So if you watch Silence of the Lambs and you want more of all of that, watch these movies. Kill the comments below and let me know. Did you watch these movies? Do you love them? Did you get Silence of the Lambs feels? Were there movies that were on that caliber that I forgot? Put them in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. If you would like to help support yo girl, become a channel member, go to my Patreon, kill the like button, kill the subscribe button, share this video with your friends. Until the next time we gather, have a killer day. Peace.